XRP could be the greatest revolution in finance since the internet. This belief, this mentality is slowly but surely becoming a reality as the path forward for crypto becomes increasingly clear. Eric Trump recently announced on Bloomberg that the reason huge financial institutions were scared of Bitcoin for the longest time, and the reason why some, even to today, are still worried about this new asset class is because it threatens their way of life, how they make money. With Bitcoin and crypto, you can transfer $500 million on a Sunday night, when every TradFi company would be closed normally, and it would cost next to no fees. I'm sure you can understand why such a revolutionary piece of infrastructure would have the smart money panicking, trying to find a way to at least monetize this asset class before they get pushed under the rug. And they finally figured it out, especially with the likes of XRP, because XRP's infrastructure is so much more superior to Bitcoin's. It's faster, it's cheaper, and Ripple have already deeply connected to the banking system, making that hurdle for those TradFi a lot easier. That jump from TradFi to DeFi is so much less daunting for the smart money. As such, we should expect trillions incoming very soon, and we know the smart money are bullish on it now, as Trump announced crypto could be the greatest revolution in finance since the internet. Listen closely.
This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes.
If crypto could be the greatest revolution in finance since the internet, then I'd argue that Ripple and XRP is, not could, it is the greatest revolution in finance since the internet. XRP is so much more superior, and it's still extremely undervalued. Its price rally and reversal, from my personal belief, not financial advice, it is coming, and it is close. XRP is currently valued at $2.87, up roughly 0.14% on the daily time frame, and Q4 right now is set to be extremely explosive for sure. However, in saying that, tonight, FUD is creeping in once again. You can see not really moving much right now, and equally gold is exploding. We'll get to that in a moment, but FUD is creeping in once again. As we can see in this video breakdown from Professor St. Onge, he confirms that there's a 64% chance 64% of a federal government shutdown. Now, is this good or bad news? Well, apparently this happens quite often, and well, the possibility of such at least. But if it does happen, Trump could terminate every single federal program that he just doesn't like, which, if he does do that, could easily and instantly put the federal budget into a surplus, which would be good therefore. Listen very closely.
The federal government is about to run out of spending authority, meaning every federal activity Donald Trump deems not essential is shut down. If this happens, this would instantly lay off hundreds of thousands of federal bureaucrats, no Doge required. In fact, the White House has already ordered federal agencies to, quote, prepare mass layoff plans, but also automatically defund an army of millions of left-wing NGOs. It would instantly balance the federal budget. Who knew it was that easy? So federal spending is voted 1 year at a time, and it runs out at midnight tomorrow. Republicans in Congress proposed extending spending, so-called clean continuing resolution, but Democrats demanded over $1 trillion in new money for healthcare for illegals, healthcare for able-bodied Medicaid recipients, along with refunding foreign aid, NPR, and PBS. In other words, demands they knew Republicans cannot accept. Now, last time we hit a shutdown in March, Democrats surrendered to protect their federal workers from Doge. This time, it looks like the activists are forcing them to fight. Of course, Republicans should want a shutdown to slash the federal oligarchy, but they historically wimp out because legacy media always blames Republicans when government workers make shutdowns as painful as possible. Done right, a shutdown should be popular. So historically, our occupying bureaucracy intentionally made shutdowns painful. They cut school lunches, threatened Social Security, closed national parks. Thing is, it does not have to be this way. Trump alone gets to decide which parts are essential and therefore stay open. So keep the parks, keep the school lunches, fire the rest. In practice, that would be at least a third of the federal government shut down, the parts voters don't like, then keep paying the essentials with incoming tax revenue. Shutting down a third of the federal government saves $200 billion per month. That would instantly balance the budget. In fact, we'd be in surplus. Even better, a durable shutdown lays off 740,000 federal workers, about 4 times what they did with Doge. Note, federal grants also pay an estimated 3 million employees of overwhelmingly left-wing NGOs. Those would all be gone. In other words, a real shutdown would wipe out the progressive revolution. They'd be down to brainwashed college students.
So for me, I guess that ultimately explains why gold right now is rallying past all-time highs day after day. It's going parabolic today for sure as well, up 1.8%, which is insane for gold. It's over a $50 trillion asset class, no less. So that is a very big deal. There's so much fun on the market right now. So right now, investors are going to risk off as opposed to risk on. But again, in saying that, while the thought of a government shutdown would be disastrous, it may be a necessary step to get the United States back on track, which would of course see a lot more money in the economy, which would mean, unfortunately, we may have a few more weeks, if maybe not a month, of pain left to go in the risk on markets in XRP. But the reversal for me is still happening this quarter, and it will be one for the history books. But let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and to find out more, as they're more locked in, come check out the VIP wop.com/coin factory. From our institutional research documents, educational courses, trade alerts, much more. Check it all out for 7-day free trial as well. Link down below in the description. And remember, as always, don't look short term, think long term. More is coming. We are still early, and I'll see you in the next one.